And now that the game is up, I will share with you my genius plan. We all know our climate changes, but it was my idea to make the humans feel like they were solely responsible for all changes in the climate, then cash in on their guilt as they buy our products and support my minions. Climate change. It used to be called global warming. Even the name has changed over time. And today I will share with you how my plan has changed and how the current presidential administrations threatens to expose and undo all that I worked so hard for. All things start with an idea, a statement, a promise, and all ideas have the power to change the world. Minded. Since I was young, I have loved the game of chess, and I know every move is infinitely important. Politics and everything that is successful in this world is like a chess game. The human mind is a complex place, but I noticed something. Bad events have a bigger influence on people's minds than good ones. That's not just my idea. Psychology today agrees with me. Quote, the human mind reacts more strongly to bad things than good ones, unquote. That's when I came up with my plan to fake a disaster. The world is my chessboard, and the players are my pawns. And it's time to begin. For my plan to work, I needed help and funding. I then enlisted three major categories of people, summarized as the editor, our media man, responsible for the propaganda and fear mongering surrounding our plan. Her job was to stir up panic, and she's in because panic sells news. The chancellor, a politician who would use the crisis to pass policies. He's in because we guarantee his votes. The chairman, responsible for filling our orders and making the products we would sell. He's in because he gets rich. We begin by taking control of the media and planting seeds of misinformation. Climate change is not new. It's been happening since time began. And if people will look closer, they would see in sites like Science Daily that there is a quote decades-long debate about how the shifts in Earth's orbit relative to the sun have taken Earth into and out of an ice age climate. Of course, we don't want these kind of stories making front page headlines. If people thought that it was the Earth's orbit and not their gas guzzling vehicles causing climate change, we'd be sunk. Instead, we use the Chancellor. Our first big one was Al Gore in his 2006 Academy Award winning documentary, The Inconvenient Truth. In it, our Chancellor made some broad assumptions, and one guy noticed the scare tactics in Al Gore's strategy. NPR science correspondent Richard Harris said, quote, scientists do care very much about how precise the details are, and when it's not exactly right, they bristle a little bit. But Al Gore has realized that if you want to get attention, you really have to focus on the crisis. You have to make people worry about things maybe a little bit more than scientists would say, unquote. Another little problem is the speech Al Gore gave in Germany in 2008. In it, he said, quote, the entire North Polar ice cap may very well be gone in 5 years. Scary, right? You can find this on YouTube. Obviously, the polar ice cap wasn't gone in 2013 or in 2024. But even with that little blunder, Al Gore really popularized the climate change narrative. We had another chancellor who worked hand in hand with the editor. Scientist Judith Curry and her colleagues discovered that if they mentioned climate change as a driver in weather events, their studies were picked up by the editor. She said in an interview with John Stossel that, quote, I was adopted by the environmental advocacy groups and the alarmists, and I was treated like a rock star. I was flown all over the place to meet with politicians and to give talks with lots of media attention, unquote. Unfortunately for us, when someone pointed out the gaps in Judith Curry's research, she realized they were right. Judith Curry is talking now against our climate change narrative, but not many are listening. Why? Because they get canceled. They lose jobs and contracts. And as Judith Curry pointed out, it's the alarmists that get published in scientific journals. The alarmists get grants, fancy laboratories, and become directors of institutions. It's the alarmists that publish papers and their editor picks them up. If a scientist wants a good job in our little web, they're motivated to play our way. As we broaden our horizons, we hit social media. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to spread the disaster. We use influencers and celebrities to amplify our message, taking advantage of quotes like, "You have to act, and act now," Larry Ellison. "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it," Robert Swan. And if you want to change the world, start with yourself, Mahatma Gandhi. Sadly, Gandhi won't be helping us, but his words perfectly illustrate what we need to do. Now that we've told them that the world is ending, we tell them they must do something about it. The funny thing is, they can't do much, but we've manipulated them to the point where they believe that the world is ending and climate change is personally their fault. So what do they decide to do? They'll buy our products, electric vehicles and solar panels. They'll support our chancellors who make politicians who make electric vehicles and green energy mandatory, and they'll make the chairman rich because his products will fix the world. But that's when a disaster happened. See, you can control misinformation and push a crisis, but no mere human can ever saddle the raw energy of Mother Nature. A destructive underwater volcano erupted January 15th, 2022. According to space.com, it raised global water vapor levels by 5%. And NASA said, quote, "The sheer amount of water vapor could be enough to temporarily affect Earth's global average temperature, warming the Earth's surface," unquote. This was a disaster that could ruin everything. If people realized that underwater volcanoes affected the Earth, the ocean's temperature, that water vapor is a powerful greenhouse gas, that the extra water vapor injected into the atmosphere would be coming down in record-breaking rainfalls, we would be sunk. They might not vote for our chancellor, but thankfully the next day, January 16th, the editor came through. CNN didn't even mention the eruption in the 5 things to know about from that week. As we went forward, we were careful, waiting for the public retaliation that surprisingly didn't happen. My genius and my plan surprised me. We had successfully covered up one of the greatest natural occurrences in modern history, one that is still having effects today. And it's time to cash in. Electric vehicles, solar panels, the list of the people, businesses, and foreign countries that profit from the climate change narrative is mind-boggling. But I'm afraid it's all coming to an end. I saw it when in the vice presidential debate, J.D. Vance said that if people were so concerned about carbon emissions, then why wouldn't we have manufacturing and production in the U.S. rather than the dirtiest parts of the world? And Donald J. Trump, the great white hope himself, has been in office for less than 100 days. And look at the damage he's done to my plan. He's withdrawn the U.S. from the Paris Climate Treaty. He's stopped wind farm production. He's authorized a pipeline to New York. He's opened up fields for drilling. And he tells people to drill, baby, drill. There are those who protest, and that gives me hope. But I'm afraid my master plan is crumbling. But at least you know my genius. Thank you. My time was 9 minutes and 19 seconds.
9 minutes and 19 seconds.
Thank you guys all so much for judging. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Nathan.